Bismillah, Alhamdulillah, wassalatu wassalamu ala Rasulillah. This is Major 1, Math 101, Term 241. Let us have a look to the exam and solve it together. The first question is asking to solve this equation. Well, there are many ways to solve this equation, but I'll choose multiplying by the LCD. Well, if you notice here, I have 3x minus 3. So if you take 3 as a common factor, it will be 3 times x minus 1. So the denominators are 3 and 3x minus 1, 3 times and x minus 1 and x plus 2. So the LCD here would be 3 times x minus 1 times x plus 2. This, if I multiply by this, the quantity, I will get rid of all the denominators. So let us multiply by 3x minus 1 times x plus 2, the first term, and then the second term, and also the right hand side should be multiplied by the LCD. Now here I can cancel this with this, and also here x plus 2 with x plus 2, and 3 cancels with 3, and now all the denominators disappeared, and I have 5x times x plus 2, and here I have 3x minus 1 times 6, so it would be 18 times x minus 1, and here I have 5 times x minus 1 times x plus 2. Well, x minus 1 times x plus 2 is x squared minus x plus 2x. This means plus x and then minus 2. Also expand more, so I have 5x squared plus 10x plus 18x minus 18 equals 5x squared plus 5x minus 10. I see that I have 5x squared in the left-hand side and 5x squared in the right-hand side, so they cancel each other. If you subtract 5x squared from both sides, they will cancel each other. So now I have 10x plus 18x, that's 28x, and I have 5x on the other side, I'll bring it here, and I have negative 10 on the right-hand side, and I'll take negative 18 to the right-hand side, so it would be positive 18. So I have 28 minus 5, that's 23x, and negative 10 plus 18, that's 8. So finally, x is 8 over 23. Well, I have no problem with 8 over 23. It doesn't make any denominator 0. So this is the solution. If you get the answer x equals negative 2 or x equals 1, then I'll say that this answer is rejected and no solution. But here in this question, this is the solution. X is 8 over 23. And you can check that your answer is correct by replacing x by 8 over 23 using the calculator and checking that the left-hand side will give you 5 over 3. Solve the inequality. This is a linear inequality, so just expand. 5x minus 5 minus 6 is greater than 9x plus 1. Well, minus 5 minus 6, this is negative 11. So 5x minus 11 is greater than 9x plus 1. If I bring 9x to the left-hand side, I'll have 5x minus 9x, that's negative 4x, greater than 1 plus 11, that's 12. Now dividing by negative 4 will change the direction of the inequality. We'll make it instead of greater than, less than, because I'm dividing by a negative number, both sides. So negative 4x over negative 4 is x. The direction changes, and 12 over negative 4 is negative 3. And that's the answer. To write it in interval notation, to graph it, this is negative 3 and x is less than, so it will go to negative infinity. So I say that x belongs to from negative infinity to negative 3 open because there is no equality here. X is not equal to negative 3, it's less than. If it is less than or equal, then I will make it closed from negative 3. This is a function f of x, and this is another function g of x, and we need to find g circle f of x. Well, g circle f of x by definition is g of f of x. And first, I put the definition of f of x. F of x is x minus 1 to the power 3. So I need g of this. Well, to have g of x, it's 1 minus 4x. If I have x minus 1 to the power 3 replaced by x, so I replace x here by x minus 1 to the power 3. To find f circle f of x, it is f of x, and f of x by definition is x minus 1 to the power 3. And now I need to find f of this. So f of x, this is the definition. So x is replaced by x minus 1 to the power 3. So I should replace x here in the right-hand side by x minus 1 to the power 3. And then minus 1 raised to the power 3. So this is the answer. This is f circle f. If one line passes through the point 0, negative 4, negative 1, negative 7, another line passes through these 2 points, are the lines parallel or perpendicular? Well, we know that from the slopes, okay? So let me find the slope of the first line, M1. The slope is delta y over delta x. This is x1, y1, and this is x2, y2. So negative 7 minus minus 4 over negative 1 minus 0. So the answer is negative 3 over negative 1. The slope of the first line is 3. The slope of the second line would be 2 minus 0 over negative 3 minus 3. So it's 2 over negative 6 or negative 1 over 3. Now, the two slopes are not equal. M1 is not equal to M2, so the two lines are not parallel. The two lines are not parallel. To be parallel, they should have the same slope. But M1 times M2 is 3 times negative 1 over 3, and that's negative 1. If the product of the two lines, if the product of the slopes of the two lines is negative 1, then the two lines are perpendicular. This is the relation between slopes and parallel and perpendicular lines. If the two slopes are equal, the lines are parallel. If the product of the slopes is negative 1, the lines are perpendicular. Solve the following system by substitution. To solve by substitution, I have to solve one of the equations for one of the variables. So let me start by the first equation and solve it for x, for example. So I'll take negative 3y to the other side. It would be negative 3y. And then x would be negative 3 over 2y. And this is a relation between x and y. This equation is solved for x. Now I can take this value of x and substitute this value into the second equation. Then I'll have one equation in one variable. I can solve it and find the answer. So this is negative 9 over 2y Negative 9 over 2 is negative 4.5 plus 4, so it's negative half y equals 5. Multiplying both sides by negative 2, then y is negative 10. Now going here, replacing y by negative 10, I'll have negative 3 over 2 times negative 10, minus times minus is plus, 10 over 2 is 5, 3 times 5 is 15, so x is 15, y is negative 10. That's the solution set. The supply function is given and the demand function is given and both are linear. Find equilibrium quantity and equilibrium price. We simply solve the two equations together. So 2q plus 20 equals to negative 3q plus 120. Taking negative 3q to the other side, it would be positive, and I'll have 5q. And taking 20 to the right-hand side, I'll have 120 minus 20, that's 100. Dividing both sides by 5, q is 20. This is the value of the equilibrium quantity. To find the equilibrium price, I replace q by 20 either in the first or in the second equation. So P would be equal to 2 times 20 plus 20. 40 plus 20 is 60. So the answer is equilibrium point 20 and 60. This is the equilibrium point, and this is the equilibrium quantity, and this is the equilibrium price. Consider the quadratic function. Find the vertex of the parabola represented by f of x. Well, a is 2, b is negative 8, c is 5. The vertex is h and k, where h is negative b over 2a, so it's 8 over 4, which is 2. And to find k, it is f of h or f of 2. So I go to f of x and replace x by 2. So I'll have 2 times 2 squared, which is 4, minus 8 times 2 plus 5. So 8 minus 16 is negative 8 plus 5, that's negative 3. So the vertex is the point 2 and negative 3. Find the zeros of the parabola. The zeros are the x-intercepts, are the zeros where the y, when y is 0. So 2x squared minus 8x plus 5 equals to 0. So putting y equals to 0, we will get the zeros of the parabola, or the x-intercepts of the parabola, or the solutions of this equation. Well, a is 2, so I'll just use the quadratic formula. X is negative b plus or minus square root of b squared minus 4 times a times c over 2a, that's 4. So it is equal to 8 plus or minus. Now, 4 times 2 is 8 times 4 is 20, and 64, sorry, 4 times 2, 8 times 5 is 40. 64 minus 40 is 24 over 4, so that's the answer. If you want to write it, so we can say zeros are, you can write it 8 over 4 plus or minus square root of 24 is 2 square root of 6 over 4. So you can write it 2 plus or minus square root of 6 over 2. This is an answer, or you can write it 4 plus or minus square root of 6 over 2. This is also another way of writing it. Suppose the selling price of the product is P of X. So here P of X is the selling price. P is not the profit here, it is the selling price. And X is the number of items sold. the cost function is given, and find the revenue function and the break-even point. So what is the revenue? The revenue is usually the number of items sold times the price times the selling price. So it would be negative 5x squared plus 39x. So this is the price. If you multiply the selling price by the number of items sold, you will get the revenue. So this is the revenue function. Well, how to find the break-even point? The break-even point would be when the revenue equals the cost. So when negative 5x squared plus 39x equals the cost, which is 4x plus 30. And this is a quadratic equation. So we can take we can take everything to the left-hand side. So I'll have negative 4x, negative 30 equals to 0. And now I have 39 minus 4, that's 35. And I can divide by negative 5 because everything is divisible by negative 5. So I'll have x squared minus 35 over 5 is 7. Negative 30 over negative 5 is positive 6. And I can solve it by quadratic formula or by factoring two numbers. Their product is 6 and their sum is negative 7. That's negative 1 and negative 6. So I have two values for x. Either x is 1 or x is 6. To find the break-even point, I can replace x by 1 or 6 in C of x, in the cost function, or in the revenue function. But in the cost function is easier. So if x is 1, I'll have 4 plus 30, that's 43. If x is 6, I'll have 24 plus 30, that's 54. And these are the break-even points. This is the end of the exam. I hope that you benefited and see you in other exams.